Good afternoon, Miss. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, thank you for the time that given to us. Today, we would like to present about Bipa teaching strategy, especially for direct method. Next slide. Before we continue, we would like to say thank you to our lecturer, Putu Santi Oktaina SP MPD as the lecturer of Bipa subject. Next slide. And now I would like to introduce my group member. The first is Putu Inten Leoni, and then me, Luh Sutini, Niluh Krishna Ananda Nesvari, Niluh Gede Nanda Paramita Sari, and last Luh Ari Artini. Next slide. Today we would like to present about 4 points. The first is introduction, and then literature review. Next is methodology, and last is finding and discussion. Next slide. For the next material is about introduction, and myself will explain about introduction. Next slide. Language is the main element in human interaction. Language is not only means of communication, but also play a key role in coordination of activities in a community, group, or individual. Language also main tool for communication or exchange of ideas in society. Every nation, tribe, and individual has a variety of language that reflect their identity. Next slide. The teaching of Indonesian for foreign speaker or Bipa is an interesting phenomenon, whereas Indonesian is touch those who are not native speaker. Bipa is not only a learning tool, but also an entry point to understand Indonesian culture for foreign people. And then next, there are several methods that we can use in teaching Bipa, such as grammar translation method, and then communication approach, community language learning method, and audiolingual method. One of the best methods that we can use in teaching Bipa is direct method. The aim of this research is to understand of effectiveness of Bipa teaching strategy through direct method. This research is expected to contribute to further understanding of teaching method that can improve the language proficiency of Bipa students. Next slide. Well, for the next material will be explained by my friend. Leoni, time is yours.
Okay, thank you for now. I'm going to continue the materials. It is about the literature review. The first thing inside of it is language. So language is the main tools that we can use to communicate and how we share thoughts one to each other in the community. Around the world, there are a lot of language spoken by different nations and also people. A nation's identity is really tied up with its language itself. For example, like us in Indonesia, and Bahasa Indonesia is referred as one of our identities. Language helps everyone to work together in the communities, groups, or even by ourselves, which play a role in the process of social production and social life in society. And then the next is about Bipa, or Bahasa Indonesia untuk penutur asing. So in various aspects, Indonesian has now gained the status of an international language. In the context of language teaching, Indonesian is a subject of Indonesian schools, and it is demanded by many individuals around the world, especially by foreigners for various purposes. It is taught in Indonesian schools and sought after by many people worldwide, especially foreigners, for various reasons. When foreigners learn Indonesian, it is known as Bahasa Indonesia for foreign speakers, as I said before, or Bipa. And through Bipa, they can learn Bipa not only in Indonesia, but also in other countries with Bipa programs. This field is seen as quite important, especially because Bipa is still quite new and very useful for specific purposes. The efforts to improve Bipa learning really took off around the 2000s, led by the Language Development and Guidance Agency, which managed language learning itself. For the next material is about the Bipa teaching strategies that will be presented by my friends. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Leonie. So after Leonie said about what is Bipa before, so in this time, I would like to explain about what are the teaching method or the strategy that we can use to teach language uh, to teach language, especially teaching Indonesian to the foreigners. So here we have prepared five teaching strategies that we can use. The first one is the direct method. Direct method is the method that will directly use the language being studied without taking part in the native language. The direct method is an approach of the language teaching that uses the target language without beginning in the translation into the native language. In this learning process, the teacher uses pictures, movements, or objects and will emphasize oral language production, spontaneous language with and used without the translated, as well as it will help to mastery or proper pronunciation or our grammar. And then next is a grammar translation method. Grammar translation method is used to learn grammar, especially translating a foreign language into a speaker's language or vice versa, and also to use in memorizing vocabulary. It was popularly used in the 1920s and the 1930s to teach reading text and increase vocabulary of the foreign language learners. In addition, this method also focuses on the developing discipline in language learners to improve reading skills and grammar comprehension. Next is communicative approach. Communicative approach is an approach for the communicating and interacting with students through writing, such as news scripts. This approach also done by students will ask to highlight the key points in the news and also give the comment and summarize the points using their own words. Next slide, please. Okay, the next teaching strategy that we can use in teaching Bipa is community language learning method. This method will help students to be effectively involved in a group learning where they can freely discuss any topic that they want. So in this method also become one of the most effective and practical approaches to learning Bipa. So teachers can act as a facilitator outside the group, and the main goal is to stimulate the students to communicate without any sense of pressures or fear. And then the last method is audiolingual method. Audiolingual method is used to introduce new vocabulary and dialogue. It emphasizes teaching listening and the speaking skills of the students. Because in audiolingual method, the students will learn about repetition and also learn about vocabulary. Well, so that's all about BIPA teaching strategies. For the next topic will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Alright, thanks for the time that given to me. I will explain about the methodology. Next slide. Methodology. This research was conducted by a literature review method by analyzing four journal international and one national journal. Journal selection criteria included by international reputation, impact, and relevance for international journals, and contribution to the national context for the national journal. For the keyword were identified and used to the search and relevant literature in international and national journal base. Next slide. Next material will be present by my friend.
Alright, thank you for the time given to me, Ananda. Now I will explain about the findings and discussion of our paper. Next slide. Okay, for the first is about key principles of direct method. In the direct method, this strategy emphasizes oral language production, spontaneous language use without translation, and mastery of correct pronunciation and grammar. And the next is about the progression in Bipa. Well, in applying the direct method strategy in Bipa, the steps that need to be followed start with the teacher understanding the basic concept of the direct method. The teacher then plans learning materials that can be taught using images, movements, or objects, ensuring the content is in accordance with the needs of BIPA students. And then the third is about implementation steps. Well, furthermore, the teacher prepares learning media that support the use of images and objects, as well as introducing vocabulary to students using visual methods. And then speaking exercises are conducted to encourage students to use Indonesian spontaneously, while teachers also integrate sign language to strengthen the understand and use of spoken language. Next slide. And the next is about enhancement. Well, the focus then shifts to developing grammar naturally in everyday context, with students learning sentence patterns and grammatical structures through hands-on practice. And then the next is about interactive learning. Well, in interactive learning, group activities become important, where students are invited to communicate and interact in Indonesia. Games and activities that involve students actively are also utilized to strengthen language skills. And the last is about feedback and evaluation. Well, teachers provide immediate feedback on students' language use, including pronunciation and grammar corrections. And then periodically, teachers evaluate students' progress in using Indonesian and also using various evaluation methods such as oral exams or observation. And thus, these steps are expected to support effective teaching and comprehension of Indonesian by BIPA students. Next slide. And the next is the conclusion. Next slide. Well, based off all of our explanation before, the direct method is an effective teaching approach that uses oral language production, images, movements, and objects to support vocabulary and language structures. It begins with vocabulary introduction through pictures, followed by speaking practice, sign language integration, grammar development, and group activities. The teacher then provides immediate feedback and regular progress evaluations, making it an effective alternative for second or foreign language learning. Well, the last slide remarks the end of our presentation. We do apologize if there were any mistakes, and if you have any questions, please type in the comment section below. And don't forget to type also your reflection of our video. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.